let's move away from Defend the North and talk about Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 and Capcom got some we got some updates. Something very interesting happened yesterday where the entire day I was thinking about Street Fighter 6. I was like, man, wish I could play Street Fighter 6 again. That game was very interesting. It felt very fresh, and it felt like it felt good to look at something. It felt good to look at something with like curiosity and wonder again, right? Like we haven't had a new game like that for a little while. So I was thinking about Street Fighter 6 all day. I even tweeted out, I was like, man, I'm thinking about Street Fighter 6. Dang it, they took the beta away. The beta came up. I guess you just have to wish for it, right? Some people started saying on Twitter that the beta was up. They were on PlayStation 5, and they were able to log in and play some very, very, very laggy matches. However, people on PC did not get that luxury. Why? Because of the issues with people cracking the beta, right? A lot of people have been, much like the Street Fighter V beta, a lot of people have been modding the beta so that they're still able to play training mode or versus, and they're still able to play the game. In response to that, Capcom sent out an update for Street Fighter 6 on Steam. What does that do? What does that update do, you might be asking? It deletes the StreetFighter6.exe from your computer. The Capcoms are on the case. Delete the executable file. So anybody that did update their Street Fighter 6 on Steam, they sent a rootkit. No, they did not send a rootkit. They just deleted the game from your computer. So anybody who did upgrade their Street Fighter 6 on Steam, update, were not able to log in. For people who didn't update, however, they were also able to log in. Now, there are a lot of, theories and speculation as to why would they just turn on this beta? Why would they just turn this on? I remember when the Street Fighter V beta was on, I was unemployed and I was recovering from foot surgery, so I had nothing else better to do. So every once in a while, I would just go on the client and just keep clicking the any button. And sometimes it would log on. I remember after the first beta, it was a couple weeks afterwards, I was just bored pressing the any button, and I got on. And I got to play with Vega and with Mika before they were out. And I specifically have a YouTube video on an old derelict YouTube channel I used to have of me experimenting with those characters before they came out. It was very interesting. So, what does it mean that they turned the beta on? Were they testing something on their end and they weren't expecting people to be bored and pressing the any button? Maybe. Some people were speculating that Capcom turned the beta on to see who cracked or who had a cracked version of the beta on Steam so that people who were playing on Steam logged on and Capcom would have their information. I feel like that's a little asinine. I don't believe that. Could it be that they just turned it on just to turn it on to see if it still worked because they're probably setting up for another beta? Who knows? Something that is interesting is if you did launch Street Fighter 6, it was version 0.2 instead of 0.1. So there's a new build. Is the new build just deleting the executable file? Probably. Or is it the rest of the cast? We'll never know. We'll never know until we get another beta. Either yesterday or 2 days ago, Capcom released their financial information. Patch notes, fixed issue where PC gamers might be coders. Very true. Now, a lot of speculation has also been going on to when we're going to play get to play these games, or when are we going to see the release of Street Fighter 6? Right? When is Street Fighter 6 coming out? Will we get to play it? I know myself included, a lot of people were speculating that Street Fighter 6 was going to come out around February, right? Because every other Street Fighter has come out in February. So it makes sense that this Street Fighter would come out in February. However, recently, as pointed out by, I'm going to get this person's name, It's pointed out by, oh, here it is. Genki underscore JPN on Twitter. He posted the Capcom second half of the financial year of 2022 earnings report. And in the earnings report, when we look into the page of operating results for the second half, the second 6 months the first 6 months of 2022, it states from the top, operating results overview. During the 6 months ending in September 30th, 2022, the company actively pursued growth investments focused on enhancing digital sales to respond to the ever-evolving and expanding global market. Follow me? Moreover, with the aim of enhancing corporate value, the company implemented specific policies for its human resources investment strategy, which one of management's priorities, such as reorganizing its human resources operation, establishing the new post of Chief Human Resources Officer, and revising its compensation system in order to further the steady, sustainable growth of the company. Guided by this management policy, the company increased its sales volume in the global market through the launch of a major new title in its flagship series and the continued pursuit of digital catalog titles sales, focusing on enhancing the value of its content in its core digital contents business. I'm going to read that one part one more time because we got to pay attention to the wording here. The second paragraph says, guided by its management policy, the company increased its sales volume in the global market through the launch of a major new title in its flagship series and the continued pursuit of digital catalog titles sales, focusing on enhancing the value of its contents in its core digital contents business. Now, the big worry is that in this financial report, the wording of the releases they will have in the first quarter of 2023 changed. Right? That's the big worry. So, with what we just read, let's take a gander at what games Capcom has released in the first half of 2022. Because they said they released one flagship title in 2022, and the rest were all digital. So, what games were released in 2022? Let's take a gander, shall we? Starting from the bottom, on June 24th, Capcom Fighting Collection, excuse me, which is a 10-game collection celebrating 30 years of Street Fighter and every single Darkstalkers known to man. A month later, on July 22nd, they released the Capcom Arcadium Second Stadium, which is a compilation of 32 classic Capcom arcade games. As of tomorrow, Resident Evil Reverse, which is the Resident Evil multiplayer online something. I'm not entirely sure what the game is. Is it like a MOBA or is it like a battle royale? Who knows? It's getting released tomorrow. And then later on down the line, in November 24th, the Capcom Collection is coming out, and it's going to be 10 Capcom games built into the Evercode EXP handheld. Now, you might be asking, wait a minute, none of these are flagship titles, right? So let's take a look at what came before June 24th of 2022. And the Capcom release, and this is according to Giant Bomb, the Capcom release prior to June 24th, 2022 is in the previous fiscal year, and it was the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles in July 27th of 2021. So, what does this mean? The wording that they used, right? Let's go back to the big report. The wording that they used here, I'm going to open this back up so I can read it on the second paragraph. The company increased its sales volume in the global market through the launch of a major new title in its flagship series and the continued pursuit of digital catalog title sales. I don't think we saw like a big AAA release this year. So the fact that they're using this wording makes me think that this might just be a weird translation error, right? If we hop down to the very, very last two lines, This is the lines that everybody was reading and inferring that we won't be getting Street Fighter 6 until after March of 2023, because the next 6 months, which is a financial quarter or a financial period, end in March 2023. So the very, very last two lines of this earnings report says, going forward, the company will work to achieve full year guidance through measures such as the release of a major new title in the second half of the fiscal year. So second half of the fiscal year being the beginning of 2023. Now, along this entire earnings report, or along like this information, we saw that throughout this past year, Capcom lost a little bit of money, but they've been like, their profits are still on par with what they did last year. It's a little bit less because they haven't released any big games. Now, here's the other thing. Once again, the last two lines saying, going forward, the company will work to achieve full year guidance through measures such as the release of a major new title in the second half of the fiscal year. What is the only title that we know of from Capcom that is being released in the beginning of 2023? Chat, you guys know? You guys know? We don't know the date for Street Fighter 6. It's just slated as 2023. That means he got it. Resident Evil 4. I believe Resident Evil 4 comes out in March. So it's right at the end of that financial quarter. So a lot of people are inferring that because of this wording changing from the wording of the previous earnings report saying that they were going to release multiple flagship titles, they're taking that as Street Fighter 6 is no longer going to be released in the timeline that we thought it was going to be released, right? Specifically, it's going to be released after March 2023. Is it possible that they're taking more time to finish the game? Possibly. Is it possible that they weren't even planning to release the game in February of 2023? Possible. Is it possible that the wording in this is just a little bit off due to a translation issue? Right? Because once again, they referred to one single flagship title when talking about the 2022 releases. But as we saw, there are 4 releases. One with Darkstalkers and Street Fighter as their the Darkstalkers Street Fighter collection and Red Earth. The other with Capcom arcade games. Resident Evil Reverse is coming out tomorrow. And then there's going to be a Capcom collection for the EXP handheld on November 24th. So this is multiple games in one quarter that on the earnings report was said to be one singular one. Ideally, publishers don't want their titles to clash in the same month, even if the genre is completely different. 100%, right? You don't want to dilute your sales figures with too many products. However, here's the other thing too. And I was watching a Maximilian stream, and he brought this up. Unless you're EA, you don't care. 100%. Maximilian brought this up, and I thought it was a very interesting point and something that we have not thought about in a hot minute. But there is the Game Awards coming up, right? Game Awards are fast approaching. They're already announcing like nominees and stuff for it. Speaking of which, we got a couple of FGC nominees for esports player, either esports player of the year or esports rookie of the year. We have Scorpion Prox, who won Evo for MK, and we have Umisho, who won Evo for Strive, nominated. So if you care about that stuff at all, go ahead and vote. And if you don't care about it, go vote anyway, because FGC getting the spotlight is never bad. Rising tide raises all ships, that whole thing. However, something that's been speculated about the Game Awards, much like the Game Awards a couple years ago, is the fabled NRS project. Right? We know that NRS, NetherRealm Studios, has been working on something. We don't know what it is. And we know that NRS in the past, specifically for Mortal Kombat 11, showed off the first teaser for Mortal Kombat 11 at the Game Awards. And they broke the cycle of showing it at E3. Is that going to happen again this year? Mortal Kombat games have a history of coming out around March, April, right? A couple years ago, Mortal Kombat 11 got shown off at the Game Awards. Came out in March or April, right? I believe it was April. Hey, Google. Hold on, let me confer to Google here real quick. Hey, Google. When did Mortal Kombat 11 get released?
Mortal Kombat 11's initial release date is April 23rd, 2019.
I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but April 23rd, 2019. So, releasing something like a Street Fighter in March is going to kind of coincide a little bit with the Mortal Kombat game, or not Mortal Kombat game, the NRS game, if it comes out in that same timeline. On top of that, another thing that we've been speculating about is Tekken, right? Tekken 8 mysteriously showed up at a PlayStation State of Play after being teased at EVO, which I think was an interesting choice. However, it was PlayStation that made the decision to do it, not the Tekken team, from what I understand. And maybe they did it because if Tasty Steve saw that full Tekken trailer that we saw at the State of Play at EVO, I think the arena would have exploded. So I think it was for our own safety that they decided to show it at the State of Play instead of at the arena. Tekken's another thing that we're speculating might be at the Game Awards, specifically because Jeff Keighley tweeted out, "Get ready," right after the teaser. He would have thrown Harada off the balcony. He would have thrown Harada, Rip, Michael Murray, and Markman all off. And then, like, the entire streaming setup that they had, the commentator's booth, was going to get thrown over. He would have thrown himself over. Absolutely. Yes, I agree. But immediately after Tekken was teased at EVO, Jeff Keighley tweeted out, "Get ready," with the picture of Kazuya, right? So there's a lot of speculation that Tekken is also going to be shown at the Game Awards. And Tekken's going to come out early 2023, just like it came out early 2017, which was in June. So if that's the case, all of these title releases are getting mighty close to the esports side of things, right? If Street Fighter 6 comes out after February, it's going to be difficult to see if we'll have a Capcom Pro Tour that year, right? Maybe we'll have like what they did with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where they'll have some side tournaments for it, and then they'll have one big thing at Capcom Cup. Who knows? Same thing with Tekken. Same thing with Mortal Kombat, right? So I'm very interested to see if my gut feeling is correct, in the sense that the wording in the financial report is just a little bit weird. Because there's a pattern. We saw the releases. We saw the multiple releases they've had this year. Is it like other years they've had? No, right? There wasn't a big Monster Hunter game release. Monster Hunter World being their most bought game at this point. There wasn't a Resident Evil. Resident Evil 8 Village got released last year. There wasn't a Street Fighter. So my gut feeling is Street Fighter is still coming out in February of 2023. Right? Maybe it's still a little bit maybe the idea of a release date is still very ephemeral, right? Maybe the game's not done and they can't really find a timeline for it just yet. It feels like the game is close to done, but when do EVO games usually get announced? In March. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe it was March. Either March or April, maybe. But yeah, they usually have the big EVO show. Yeah, we'd have to find out before then, 100%. 100%. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that in the future. You feel me? And if Street Fighter 6 isn't at EVO, then it's going to be a little bit difficult. Unless another... Oh, man. Do you guys remember that internal memo of a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite tour that leaked? and it had Evo on it. And then the person who was running Evo at the time was like, I've never seen this before. And then didn't put Marvel on the Evo lineup. Boy, if that happens again. Ooh. Aside from all of this, that was Infinite though? True. Aside from all of this, MVCI was different though. Man, it kind of sucks. I really liked playing MVCI. Yeah, Evo lineup was revealed in March. Nice. I was right. This weekend, Capcom is in Thailand for the Thailand Comic-Con. And they do have a Street Fighter 6 presence there, along with the Street Fighter 5 presence and other Capcom games. Will we be getting something out of Thailand Comic-Con? Most likely not. But there's a chance. So keep your ears to the ground. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Maybe they're going to announce a Thai character that we don't know about. Maybe one of the characters that we saw is Thai. Paris Game Week is coming up. Oh, I didn't know that. Is that this weekend, Mean Scene? Has Capcom announced something on Paris Games Week? They do have a French character, so maybe they'll announce it, right? Or not announce it because she's already been announced, but maybe they'll show her. Oh, it's November. Okay, so it's next week. Next week. Yeah, I'd be interested to check that out. Who knows? Who knows?